So I've held on to this for a while, and this is just going to be the easiest way to make this video to post this up. But in my dystopian thriller, The Great Remembering, the U.S. becomes a fascist state called Neo-Colombia and tries to take over Canada and Mexico with their eyes on the world with Russia and China. I started the novel all the way back in 2020. I got everything completed and done by 2022. And so here is just some of the parts of where you see some of the other new countries that are being formed, but also about Canada and Mexico, and also Russia and China. And there's the copyright from my novel. And so I'm also going to show this older thread that I have linked because I do allude to like tech oligarchs and all that other stuff. But ironically enough, the person who actually controls the president of Neo-Colombia is the head engineer of a company called Vitacorp Integral Technologies. I'm not showing his name. I can't give everything away, but here you can kind of see the explanation of that. And, keeps looking more like Musk. I don't want to compare the character too much to Musk because the character is actually smart and not obnoxious. And his whole point is being the power behind the throne, that he has no desire to be like seen by everybody. So that part's actually very different. And so with the older thread, I'll lay out a lot of the places where you can find it. And it's on Google, Apple, Barnes & Noble, Smashwords, Rakuten Kobo. My novel is on Amazon, but none of my free short stories are on Amazon. They are too short to be posted there. So none of them are on Amazon. But you can find the free short stories that are related to the novel, which is currently $4.99. You can find them on all these other sites. Just search the titles and you will find it. And so the first one in the series is Kashai Zero. And then the next is The Broken Arrow. Then after that, Ashley and Connie. Then Moonlight over Monte Carlo. Operation Spring-Killed Jack. Masterson's Miscalculation, and that's where actually you get a little bit more of the allusion to of the presidency being taken over. All of these take place before the novel, but this one kind of gives you that thing of like the presidency being taken over in Masterson's Miscalculation. And then my last three short story, Black Sheep and Black Jade. Unfortunately, in the process of all this, I came down with a very rare disease called systemic mastocytosis, and it has really slowed me down a lot. So I haven't been able to work on more free short stories, and I only have about half of the sequel to The Great Remembering done. And like to give you an idea here, like where I haven't been giving this away, that part that's blacked out, the novel tells the tale of how he plans to flee to the relative safety of what it says right there is Canada. So I've had that blacked out so you wouldn't know that this is taking place in the United States. But now, since I'm talking about this, there isn't any point to it. And so the whole point, so a lot of this is that really tyranny is bad no matter what it comes from the left and the right. But also that this thing of biometric tracking, also Elon Musk actually wants to put chips in people's brains. They're not in your brains, but you kind of get the bigger point here. And so I had no idea that they were already seeking it out in 2020. I'm a libertarian. I wasn't planning on voting for Trump, so I really didn't follow every little thing Trump did. I actually found this out much later, and this gives you the whole thing of all the various things that the chip can track, and which, by the way, Trump supporters actually want to microchip people. And here's where I've already talked about, like Russia and China expanding into older territories. And so, by the way, one of the things that was mentioned was Korea, and now North Korea is actually involved in some of these conflicts as well. And with Russia and China coming closer together. So in The Great Remembering, women and kids are treated like property. Something Christian nationalists have really pushed. Abortions a little. Some kids are forced to be aborted while others are forced to turn for the state's desires, like the Nazi Germany's Lebensborn. And so I have all that in there. And I know you just can't read all these things quickly, so just pause the video if you need to read anything. And so, like, trad cons have this weird thing where they cosplay in older style clothes. It's something that they get criticized for more and more, and that's kind of become the thing of society. Things are done for to be part of this and to not stand out, and to not upset the state, basically. And the great remembering, all media is digital, so the state knows what you consume. Um, and I actually misspelled that right there. But what a lot of people have learned, a bad thing about a lot of these streaming services too, as well, that you actually don't own any of the stuff. That even if you download it for the streaming service, and that you paid for it, you don't actually own it. So if it disappears, if the streaming service goes away, or whatever it is, that particular thing on that streaming service isn't available anymore, you no longer have access for it. Even if you paid specifically for that thing, you no longer have it. And I don't really think I have it in here, but the thing is, libraries being targeted. That's been happening to a lot of other libraries because that's the easiest free media you have access to. Um, Libraries have been targeted a lot. That's covered a little bit in Masterson's Miscalculation as opposed to the novel. Tech oligarchs help powerful politicians, and all your health is monitored. And as you can see, people like Musk suddenly found Jesus, the state, and its agents cloaked themselves in religion. And that's, something else that they do. Musk kind of suddenly found Jesus, and his own daughter's really been calling him out for it, that like he's got no interest in it, he's not a family man, and that he's just kind of playing on the emotions and the beliefs of other people. And that's how the powerful in Neo-Columbia act. They don't practice what they preach. They sort of cloak themselves in these things, so the masses will be more supportive of them. And I actually really kind of started on this thing before the alt right surged. But they are a lot like the ones. The alt right's been around a long time, but they kind of haven't really gained a lot of prominence until now. Um, and it'll be covered a little bit more in Masterson's Miscalculation, that I have this thing of the woke versus the anti woke, and that the anti woke are really no different than the woke that they criticize, that they're just as pearl clutching. They want just as much censorship. They want just as much conformity, that they're actually the flip side of the coin. And again, that's something that's going to be a bit more in Masterson's Miscalculation. And this kind of going into the thing of how, like, the chip, Vitacorp's chip kind of tracks all these things you do, in which that's kind of what Elon Musk wants, quote unquote, X to do. And here's the thing where, like, Musk is actually wanting people to hand over their medical data, which also I wouldn't advise. The Great Remembering also features a social credit score and central bank digital currencies. Cash is dead, and before the chips, QR codes were used before the chips became the norm. This is something that China has already been doing. And occasionally I've heard the criticism of people, and like, but everyone has a cell phone. Your cell phone tracks you. Well, one, this is a novel. Hopefully it just stays a novel, but the way things keep going. Two, you can still buy a flip phone. You can buy what are called de-Googled smartphones that will prevent forms of tracking. People even get burner phones. There are onion networks and VPNs. Biometrics kill all that, and people go, well, that with biometric trips, they just couldn't track you everywhere. But that's also because what they've went and done is they've went and placed sensors kind of everywhere, like spaced out enough to where they can kind of track you. Actually don't have it in this thread, but the government's actually been doing like geofencing, where they're like tracking high school students for like military recruitment. So that's something actually the government is interested in. And so I find it rather disheartening that President Biden has to tell the military to remember their oath before he goes out of office. And so, with the idea that the U.S. military will be used to round up immigrants. And so, and this is from the novel, even more, so when the purge of anyone considered disloyal or undesirable from the military weakened, I actually have Neo-Columbia blacked out there. because again, this was something I wasn't giving away. On top of all that, those that deserted or resigned beforehand, now take all that into consideration for a large invasion of the other side of the Atlantic. What we do on the other hand is much, and it cuts off there, but that's talking about how, like, eventually Neo-Columbia gets hindered, even though they're this big military power, that their invasions of Canada and Mexico kind of go awry, and the world kind of gets tipped off to some things. And so it's not as easy for them to just do whatever they want anymore with all the things that are set into motion.